Hello, I'm Smits for the Capital Network. Joining me here at OFX is its CEO and Managing Director Richard Kimber. Richard, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Richard, let's talk about the online payments industry. Australia's big banks still control the industry. Why is that? And where are consumers looking for alternatives?
So they still control the industry because of their history, really. They've been around for a long time. But I think interestingly, as you look at international payments, that's where it's less clear and where companies like ours have really started to gain share. And I think as you broaden the spectrum and look overseas, the Australian banks have less of an impact.
Okay, you mentioned international. We've also got investors that are increasingly looking to global markets for opportunities. What factors are driving this demand to look offshore?
Well, I think it's information firstly. People are now much more aware of international investment opportunities. I think the other aspect to it as well is that the Australian investment market is quite small in terms of the overall size of it, and it's quite concentrated. So what people are often looking for is more diversity, more exposure to technology, more exposure to new industry. So I think increasingly people will look offshore for investment.
And Richard, while on technology, you've been in this industry for quite some time, including working at Google. What changes or how have you seen the online payments industry really evolve in the time that you've been working?
Well, I think one of the biggest changes has been the levelling of the playing field around technology. Historically, companies like Google and Facebook had an advantage in technology, but I think we've all caught up in terms of the broader payments industry and fintechs in general. So I can now hire an engineer that's just as qualified as an engineer that'll work at Google, and our infrastructure as it moves to the cloud will be just as low cost as their infrastructure. So I think increasingly we will become real technology players in our own right.
Okay, and finally, Richard, as we look to the future, what are the biggest changes do you think we're likely to see in the online payments industry?
Well, I think interestingly, again, we'll see those technology companies come increasingly into the payment space, and we've seen that in China with products like Alipay and so on. We've also seen it in the US with Apple getting into payments with Apple Pay. So I think there's a real convergence where technology companies and financial services companies start to play in each other's territory. So it's a very interesting space, and I think one that's growing a lot.
Very interesting. Thank you for your insights today.
Thank you.